Don't stress, live life one day at a time. Don't drink or drug and you'll be fine.
Welcome back to Staying Sober with Papa Joey. Today I want to talk about a book that I first read back in 1997, and that book is The Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. And this book kind of gives you suggestions on how to improve your life by following four simple agreements based on old Toltec teachings. Now say that 3 times fast, old Toltec teachings. Now, to be honest with you, I had no idea what Toltec teachings were until I read the book, and I'm glad I did. Again, I read it in 1997, got sober in 1992, and during the time of my sobriety and a little before, I was starting to get into self-help books. But I noticed quickly that when I was purchasing other books and reading them, the authors had crammed so much into their books, it was kind of hard to follow. This guy is pretty good. These 4 agreements are really easy to understand. They're easy to understand, but hard to follow, and you'll get what I mean when we get into it. But it was a great book, and when the audio version came out in 2005, 2006, I purchased that, and I'll be honest with you, since then I've probably listened to this book, well, at least 100 times or so. So I enjoy it, and what I always tried to do is, if I found a book that I liked, I tried to take a couple of things that I could use for, sobriety, keeping myself sober, staying sober. And even though, again, I've always said that once I decided I was done drinking back in August of 1992, I was done. I stopped, never went back out, never had what they call a relapse or a slip or anything like that. I don't believe in those words. I believe if somebody picks up a drink or a drug, they made a choice. There's no slip, there's no relapse. They just made a choice to pick up a drink or a drug. But I never did that, and I was fortunate, one of the fortunate ones. And the reason I think I never picked back up is because I understood that I shouldn't put alcohol in me. I also understood what really happened to me when I did, and I didn't want that to happen again. So that's what really has kept me sober all these years, was knowing if I put a drink in me, shit's going to hit the fan one way or the other. One day, some way, somehow. I just didn't want to take that chance anymore. And I always say that to people, man. You have to get to that point in your life where you understand, not what everybody tells you, or I don't care if if you're going to AA, like I went to AA early on, or whatever support group, or treatment centers, whatever. You have to come to that understanding for you why you shouldn't put a drink in you or a drug. Now, I wasn't into drugs, but here on the channel, I always say, don't drink or use no matter what, and no matter what means no matter what, because truthfully, that's the only way you're going to stay sober. That's it. You could do a bunch of shit on top of it. Yeah, great, but it all boils down to you don't put a drink or a drug in you. That's it. So let's get on with these 4 agreements. All right, the first agreement is be impeccable with your word. Basically, say what you mean and mean what you say, which is difficult sometimes, right? How many times, let's relate this to our drinking days, or when we're trying to get sober or whatever. How many times in the past have we told people, hey, yeah, I'm done, I quit, I'm sorry, I'll never do it again, and we go back out and drink or use. That's not being impeccable with your word, right? Whatever situations that we have in our life, when we tell somebody something, we want them to believe us. Right? We don't want to be known as a bullshitter. And unfortunately, a lot of people who drink or use, we have the tendency to lie a little, or maybe lie a lot, to get what we want, which isn't good. But other people know that. So early on in sobriety, you definitely want to be impeccable with your words. Because if you tell somebody, especially yourself, I'm done drinking this time, no matter what, I'm going to get through whatever challenges are in my life without picking up a drink, you got to mean it. And that's what this is all about. Be impeccable with your word. The author also suggests that we use words that are kind and truthful and loving to others. Now, in today's world, that's, it's a little tough with all the craziness that's going on, especially if you go onto the social media sites, and with all these posts, things can get a little bit, let's use the term, unloving out there. But it's just the world we're in right now, and that's it. But it shouldn't screw with your sobriety once you get grounded in your reasons not to pick up a drink or a drug. Also, being impeccable with your word means don't put yourself down. Too many times, early on in sobriety, I can remember sitting in AA rooms, man, and, the one thing I didn't like about AA was, you had to refer to yourself as an alcoholic. I hate the term alcoholic. I hate the term addict. I just think we don't need to label ourselves that. But in the rooms of AA, out of respect, anytime I, wanted to share in a meeting, I had to say, hey, I'm Joey and I'm an alcoholic. Every time I said that, I just cringe by saying it. But I did out of respect for other people in the room, but I never agreed with it. And to this day, if I've never referred to myself as an alcoholic. I say I abused alcohol years ago, but that's it. And truthfully, it's none of anybody's business. I know a lot of people want to, tell everybody how great they are because they don't drink or drug anymore. And it's a good thing that they don't, but you don't need the pat on the back, in my opinion. Because even at that point when we're looking for somebody to go, good job, we're worried about what other people think. And that's not healthy. It's a good thing that we think good of ourselves or well of ourselves because of what we accomplish, especially if we put a drink or a drug down. But, that we should just be thankful that, we're no longer, destroying ourselves. So that's all this, being impeccable with your word means. Just say what you mean what you say. And another thing, if you screw up, we've talked about this in different podcasts, don't be a fool, man. Just apologize if you were wrong and move on. So let's move on to the second one, which is don't take anything personally. Well, that's kind of hard, especially early on. And I'm going to tell you a little story. When I first got sober, I was in AA, like I shared, and it was my year anniversary. And they give you a medallion for your years in sobriety. So I got my first chip, my first medallion anniversary. So afterwards, I had 3 gentlemen come up to me and say that they lost $20 on me because they bet that I wouldn't last a year. And we laughed and everything. And he said, those guys over there, you made them $20. And when the guys left, I remember thinking to myself, what an asshole. So you're betting on people not to make it? Now, in all fairness, I can remember sitting in the rooms and listening to people talk and think to myself, yeah, I don't think they're going to make it. I don't, just by what they're saying, a lot of them you could tell really didn't want to be there. They were forced there and everything. However, I never thought to myself, telling anybody, hey, man, this guy's not going to make you want to put some money on it or whatever. But I proved them wrong, and I kept on proving people wrong. But the one thing I learned, especially about my sobriety, was I didn't care what other people were saying about me. Now, I was fortunate because most of the people that I drank with were up in New York. I moved to Florida. I got sober only after being down here for 8 months. So I didn't know too many people. I didn't drink with too many people. All the people that I drank with were up north. However, once many of them found out that I no longer drank, they were cool with it. And that was a good thing for me. But even if they weren't, it wouldn't have bothered me. And a few things that I learned along the way was if somebody says something about me or towards me or something that I'm doing, all that is what they believe to be true. It doesn't mean that it's true. It's just that in their own reality, that means it's true. And, this book talks a little bit about that. So, somebody might not like me. They may perceive me to be a certain way without even knowing me. And I'm okay with that because, again, they don't know me. Just like there are times where I was quick to judge somebody, but I would never say anything to them, only to find out later that they were actually really nice people. So early on, especially in sobriety, and even as if you got some time in sobriety, don't take things too personal. All right? If somebody doesn't like you, oh well. That's it. If my family had an issue with me, I trust them enough where if they say, hey, Joey, you're doing this wrong, or, you should think about this or that, I would respect them enough to listen to them and really think about what they're telling me because I know they only want, the best thing for me. But if they're just people coming up or, acquaintances and they're judging you or whatever, hey, man, don't let that bother you, okay? Just, it's not that important. And remember, somebody once said that it's not, I could care less what other people think about me. It's none of my business what other people think about me. And it's true, other than, my family and my close friends. But it's the same way with me with them. If I think that they're harming themselves or doing something bad, I will bring it up to them. But on the flip side, if they do something good, I'm going to let them know, man, that's cool. It's great that you're doing that. So, again, don't take anything personally. Let's go down to the third one. This is similar. Don't make assumptions. How many times did we assume something, right? And we all know what assume means, right? Make an ass out of you and me. Early on sobriety, there will be people that will say that you'll drink again. Okay, prove them wrong. They're assuming, based on your past history, that you will drink again. Okay, they're going to assume that they can, but you don't have to, right? Also, we can't assume that other people are going to believe us right away that we're not going to drink or use again, or we're going to go get help because of our past. If we've told them that many times before, we can't assume that they're going to believe us, right? So it's a two-way street. Another thing is we can't always assume that everything is going to work out good for us, right? If there's going to be challenges in our life, especially early on in sobriety and through life, right? We can't assume that just because we put a drink down or the drug down that things are just going to be perfect for us. No, there's going to be some other challenges that come up. The biggest challenge is when we get into a situation that's difficult and we begin to think about how we used to handle difficult situations. And that was normally we put a drink or a drug into us. Now we have to rethink the situation and find different ways to handle whatever it is that we're going through. So we can't assume, right, that everything is going to just move along nicely. And also, if things are going along great for us, we can't assume that they'll always be that way, because we also know that something else is going to happen, right? There's going to be a challenge that's going to come up, and we're going to have to deal with it. So, the best thing that I've learned to do, and it's been difficult, is try to live one day at a time. And when I go through some challenges, and I still go through challenges, I'm going to be 64 years old in August, and having a couple of things going on right now in my life too. But I always remember the saying that I did a podcast on a while back ago called "Don't Quit 5 minutes before the miracle." That just means, man, you just got to hang in, you got to fight through, and hopefully everything is going to be okay. And if it doesn't turn out the way you want it to turn out, well, that's just life. But don't make assumptions. Don't feel that, other people need to look at you a certain way or trust you because you're getting sober and staying sober. There's some damage in the past. Hopefully, a lot of the people that maybe we've hurt or you've hurt or I've hurt in the past will kind of, help us along the way with a little bit of encouragement. And then in time, trust me, a lot of times people forget. Okay? So that's the third one. And the fourth one is, I think, the best one is just always do your best, because that's all we can do. If, especially in sobriety, if you're going through your life one day at a time, like we all do, but if you just go through your life one day at a time, you don't put a drink or a drug in you, and whatever situation comes up, you handle it without putting a drink or a drug in you, you're killing it, man. That's awesome. And our best is going to be different daily, depending what it is we're considering that our best is. Meaning, I played drums for years, so there'll be times where I'll go out and play, and the band sounds great. I'm playing, really well, and then the next night we go out. The band sounds good, and man, I'm just not feeling it. I just feel that I'm lacking what I was, the night before or whatever. I thought I was playing my best, and I really tried to play my best. It just didn't come out that way. And the same thing, like I play pickleball now 3-4 times a week. And there's days I'm out there and I'm just killing it and having a lot of fun and I'm right on. And then there's other days where I'm like, did I just pick up this paddle? What's going on? I'm trying my hardest. I'm playing because I'm pretty competitive. I want to win. And I finally had to realize that even though I'm playing the best as I could, my opponents were probably playing the best that they could, and their best was better than mine, which is okay. So the only thing you can do is your best. And if you, at the end of the day, if you can tell yourself, hey man, I did what I could do. Now, do we fall short from doing our best all the time? Yeah. At least I know I do. And it's frustrating for me at times, but you just keep going, right? Like I said, don't quit 5 minutes before the miracle. And I believe, if people hang in there, things will turn around. Especially, if you're newly sober and life is still pretty tough for you, and you wonder why am I doing this? There's a reason you're doing it, and you might not understand it at this point, but things will get better. At least they've always for me. And sometimes it took some time, some heartache and everything like that, but life does get better. And as long as you don't put a drink or a drug in you, you have a chance, man. If you put the drink or the drug in you, you know what's going to happen. It's what happened before. And I've never seen any good come from that from anybody who went back out there. So, be careful. So let's just recap real quick. The first agreement is just be impeccable with your word. Mean what you say what you mean. Next one is don't take anything personally. Don't give a damn about what other people think of you, right? Don't make assumptions. We all know what assume means, correct? And then, of course, always do your best. So that's going to end it for this podcast. I want to thank you for coming by. Please, if you would, I'm trying to build this channel. If you can hit the like and subscribe button, that would truly help me. And if you want to be on the podcast and, tell me and others about your sobriety, how you got sober, how you're staying sober, or even if you're struggling a little, drop me a comment, get in touch with me, and I'll be more than happy to talk to you and do a podcast with you and let other people hear, your story. So until the next time, remember, don't drink or use no matter what, and no matter what means no matter what. Take care.
Think about your serenity. Be grateful for your sobriety. Staying sober with Papa Joe.